We are still on lesson 3.5, and I want to cover a few more types of problems with you. If you have 2 cosine squared x plus cosine x minus 1 equals 0, and you're between 0 and 2 pi, I want to show you what you need to do here. You're going to solve this one. It's in quadratic form, so you're going to have to factor it. When you factor it, you're going to get 2 times cosine x minus 1 times cosine x plus 1. You're going to treat it just like you would anything else. You're going to set each of those equal to 0. 2 cosine x minus 1 equals 0. Cosine x plus 1 equals 0. So we solve here, and we get cosine x is equal to 1 divided by 2. Cosine x is equal to 1/2. And here we're going to have cosine x equals negative 1. The cosine is positive in quadrants 1 and 4. So we have cosine is equal to 1/2. Go to my chart. Cosine is 1/2 at pi over 3. So pi over 3, cosine's positive, so that's an answer. And cosine will be negative here. Cosine will be negative here, so it's going to be pi over 3 short of 2 pi, which is going to be 2 pi minus pi over 3, which is 6 pi over 3 minus pi over 3, which is 5 pi over 3. So the solutions are pi over 3, 5 pi over 3. Where's cosine equal to negative 1? Cosine's equal to negative 1. Well, it's equal to 1 at 0 degrees. That's positive. It's going to be over here at pi. So that's where I'm going to get the pi, right there. That's where cosine is equal to negative 1. So those are my 3 solutions. The solutions are pi over 3, 5 pi over 3, and pi. I'm going to do another one for you here. What happens if we have 4 sine squared x minus 1 equals 0? Guys, remember this is the difference of squares. You could factor it that way, or you could simply factor it by isolating sine squared. You could add 1 to each side, and you'd have sine squared is equal to 1 divided by 4. Sine squared x is 1/4. Take the square root. Sine x is plus or minus 1/2. So sine is 1/2 at pi over 6. But it could also be negative 1/2, so it could be this pi over 6, or not this pi over 6 shy of pi, which is going to be 5 pi over 6. 7 pi over 6. 11 pi over 6. So we have those 4 options: pi over 6, 5 pi over 6, 7 pi over 6, and 11 pi over 6. Okay, there's one more type I want to show you on this video, and it is tan x times sine squared x equals 3 times the tangent of x. And we are in the interval from 0 to 2 pi. Solve this equation. Well, what we need to do is we need to move everything to one side. So I'm going to subtract 3 tan x from both sides. So this is going to say tangent of x times the sine squared of x minus 3 times the tangent of x equals 0. Then I want you to factor out what they have in common. So I'm going to take a tangent out. Tangent of x times sine squared x minus 3 equals 0. So my options are tangent of x could equal 0, or sine squared x minus 3 could equal 0. Tangent is 0. Tangent is 0 at 0 degrees. So tangent's going to be 0 here and here. So tangent is 0 at 0, and at pi. Those are my two answers. Sine squared minus 3. So sine squared x is 3. So sine of x is plus or minus the square root of 3. Well, the sine is the square root of 3. Well, let's see. Square root of 3 is bigger than 1. Sine can never be bigger than 1. So these don't yield any answers. So my two answers here are 0 and pi.